All right, so this final video that we're gonna do of this series, maybe we'll bring Brian in sometime and best of under $15. He can just show you everything, and we're talking 750s on this thing.
We'd have to limit them to 5 bottles.
Yeah. We'll just call this list if money was no consideration, aka Brian's just going to poo-poo it because it's so expensive it tastes bad in his mind.
He's allergic to quality.
Yeah, basically. You could put your Russell's 15 on this one. But bottles that we continue to go to enjoy that are over $80. So that's why price really doesn't matter at that point. That we continue to buy. Like, you're not going to buy them all the time. You're going to splurge every now and then. So if you're going to splurge, what are you going to splurge on? And you're pretty comfortable doing that because you know you're going to get a quality bottle. I think it's a good list. And right off the bat, I'm going to poo-poo on Chuck because I'm just going to go 4 Roses barrel strength.
Isn't that like $80?
It used to be 75. Now at the distillery, it's 100, like 110. Like it's getting up there. But I was a big proponent of getting all 10 recipes. All 10 recipes really do taste different. If you don't believe me, you can also do the challenge of finding all 10 recipes.
They're also single barrels. So have you had replication of?
Yes, all that stuff. But I've always enjoyed them. Obviously, there's some I enjoy more than others. I will admit that I did most of my collecting when they were in the like $80, $85 range. So 110's a little bit more to swallow for that, but I've enjoyed them. There are the type of bottles that when I open it up and try it again, I'm always surprised. Like, wow, this is really good. Why don't I drink this more? And I mean, the answer is I don't have backups to all of these because they're expensive and because there's so many recipes. I mean, at $100 a piece, 10 recipes, that's $1,000 per collection. I'm just not going to have all of that type of bourbon. But every time I go back to it, it is absolutely delicious and, to me, well worth the price. So, yes, 4 Roses barrel strength is where I'm going.
I think you got to have one on the shelf, if not all 10. Maybe don't be like Pokemon TJ and collect them all, but, definitely worthy.
Yeah, and I'll say with the new 100 proof offering, I think it's an easier way to narrow down which recipe is really up your alley.
In your profile?
Yeah, and then level up to that barrel proof version.
I like that. This should be on your list, but I'm going to take it because you said it wasn't on your list. So, Heather, this is for you. Booker's. This is one. So my brother recently started to get into bourbon, so I've had to start over on Bourbon 101 or preventing your friends from buying bad bourbon. And so it causes you to examine things that you really appreciate or enjoy or that you would buy again. And as I think back to Booker's, certainly variation in the batches, which we appreciate, those of us that have large collections, because that keeps you buying the next version, right?
Yeah.
But I recall, I've never not enjoyed a Booker's. There are some that are better than others. A few years ago, one, I think, got into number 2 of our best of bourbon. They don't always reach that echelon, but I think if you can find them in that $80 to $100 price range, it's always a buy for me. And it's, again, I've always enjoyed them. So I think if you don't have 1, 2, 3 Bookers on your shelf, you should consider it.
I can agree with that. Yeah, it's definitely it's a good way to get into single barrels without having to really go it is much easier to get the Bookers than 4 Roses, and you're going to get just as much variation, I think.
I've seen 4 Roses sitting around all over the place nowadays. Oh yeah, I can get them at Schnucks, which is like our grocery store.
Wow, I would say no 4 Roses sit on the shelf here. You got to go to the distillery. Bookers all day long.
Oh yeah, you're like, I just have to go to the distillery,
Target,
which I have 2 choices to do, and it's like a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than that. For the Jim Beam stuff, it usually costs me a dinner and all that stuff. But such amazing food. So one that I want to not like this distillery because it's expensive and it's young and expensive. But every single time I get a bottle, it is so delicious.
80 laws.
Yeah, absolutely. I purposely stay away from the distillery because if I go, I know I'm going to buy a bottle, and that is Peerless. Like their main expressions are starting to drop in price, and you can get some I've seen like all the way down to like $50, but their single barrels, some of those are just absolutely amazing. And because I follow it and I'm a weirdo, they've just released on the TTB that they are going to release a 10-year and a 12-year-old rye. And you better believe one is going to be crazy expensive, but it's probably going to be just absolutely amazing. So if you don't have a bottle of Peerless, I highly recommend getting one of those. And if you're in the Louisville area looking for distillery tours, they do an amazing tour. You get to see the entire process all the way through. And then they've got some crazy single barrels like mint julep bourbon and all of these crazy things that are just so good. I can't recommend them enough. Like, again, it's one that I don't want to like them as much as I do, but gosh dang it, they're doing some good stuff.
That was my first bourbon tour in Louisville, was Peerless, with you and Heather. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get Corky on the tour.
Yeah.
As a tour guide. That's one, I think, and this is kind of cool. You know, we've been drinking or doing this channel long enough, been in the bourbon game long enough. You've seen some of these brands grow and develop. I think Wilderness Trail is one. I think Driftless Glen is one. I think, Green River, which you mentioned on the previous video, is one. I think Peerless is another one that I think 4 years ago, I would have said overpriced. But the quality of stuff that they put out the last 2 years, yes, higher price. But I guess to their credit, they've maintained their price. They haven't necessarily gone 2x or 3x. Didn't start out crazy price like Blue Run. But I think the quality of the product that they've released in these last 2 years, it has been some awesome stuff. I mean, you mentioned their single barrels, but I think I think you had sent it maybe a double oaked or
Yes,
one of that was just also really good. So yeah. Great choice. Also, just been fun, like I said, to watch them, I think, grow into what they are.
Yeah, definitely.
My next one, sticking with the beam theme, and that's Knob Creek. This particular one is Knob 18. Really, I'd say any of the Knob Creek premium lineup. Obviously Knob Creek 12s we would be a proponent of, but that's below the $80, the $80 range. So Knob 15, Knob 18, those beam, this should have just been one as beam special releases outside of Little Book. Beam, I'm still angry at you. I'll get over it eventually, but I'm not over it yet. But any of the beam special releases have just been, they've been the winners, I think, of those major distilleries in the last couple of years. As far as like hitting that quality and price point, we could talk about what's the best if price is no object. But love the Knob Creek lineup from start to finish. I think maybe one of the best daily drinkers or go-tos at the Knob Creek 9-year. Their single barrels obviously are fantastic, but I think it really hits the premium when you get up into this 18-year. And it's well worth the price. And yes, I am very much looking forward to the Knob 21-year this year.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I might camp out on the distillery on that one. We'll see. All right. Next one up, just because I got to take Chuck's thunder. I don't know if he's going to have it, but I'm at least getting it out there before him. Any of the barrel, gray label stuff. I'm not willing to say gold label. I feel like gold label is just a little too expensive. But any of the gray label stuff is just absolutely amazing. So this is the extra aged ice wine finish, which if you watched our best whiskey of the year, you know that finished really well. But we'll also say the regular ice wine, which is about $65, $70, did better. But yeah, any of the limited barrel stuff, if you're looking for like a splurge and you want quality, it's going to be there for you. So
Yeah, the Gray Label Seagrass, the Gray Label Dovetail. I might stay away from I don't. The Gray Label Bourbon might be the lowest of those on my list.
yeah,
I would go to the other ones first. Is how I'd phrase that. Um, is that fair?
yeah. I mean, we haven't had a gray label bourbon since the first one, and that was back when the ultra premium age stuff.
I have two sitting on my shelf.
Oh, okay. I haven't. Was the Dickel stuff, but yeah, and that goes back to like you said with our other list of under 80. Like at that point, like just get a Dickel 15, and you'll be just as happy. So
yeah, I think the price change on the Gray Labels. What was that? 2 years ago now.
Yeah,
was game changer. I think
yes.
at $250, this was a lot harder discussion, which I had bought actually all but one of my Gray Labels I had bought at that price. In the Gray Label Seagrass, I thought was worthy of that price anyway. So really good buy at the lower price.
Yeah. Yeah, they've dropped it to, what was it, 150 now? So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the age of prices going the other direction, very shocked to see prices go down. This is one of my favorite bourbons of all time. Sorry, that was dramatic. And that is Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend. The real Cigar Blend, I think we need to get something out there. Like, I don't know, is there a trademark cigar batch? Maybe they get by with it because cigar batch, or maybe there's just label. So sometimes a cigar blend or cigar batch has become associated with Amburana finished. No, this is the OG.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with Amburana. Doesn't taste like artificial sweetened cinnamon rolls. This is just whiskey. I mean, it is finished in Armagnac sherry cognac casks. But also like some of this whiskey it's like 21 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, the older batches are better than the newer batches, in my opinion, or at least the ones I've tasted. I haven't tasted every batch, of course, because there's like 175. But the ones that I've had, the older ones tend to be a little bit better. But I love this every time I go to it. It is a top shelf pour. That's a weekly pour. Is that? I guess on my shelf, that's okay. I do have a couple of backups thanks to good friends. And this is another one, just like, becomes more available. So years ago, it's like, I remember I think I was eating a bowl of chili on my counter, scrolling Facebook, and saw that Benny's had, somebody posted in the local chat that there was one at the store, and I called and they said they had one left, and I drove 30 minutes. I left the soup on the counter and drove. And it's like, if I hadn't done that, you wouldn't have got it. Like, that's how fast these things would have gone. Nowadays, maybe it's not quite that. You can eat your bowl of chili and then go to the store. But yeah, always going to be on my shelf, hopefully, and always enjoy it.
All right, I guess I'll just go to my favorite, like tried and true, expensive bottle, never been let down. Well, I take it back. The one cheap version of this was a letdown, but all the expensive versions have just been absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, Chuck gets it wrong. This one is the best, and that is Hardin's Creek. Frankfurt is better than Claremont, but any of the Hardin's Creek ultra aged lineup is some of the best bourbon from Jim Beam that is in existence. And they announced that there's going to be a new Hardin's Creek lineup that comes out this year. I'm gonna buy it. Like I don't care. People can say it's the worst thing in the world. I will still go out and buy it because I've never been let down by them, and they are some of the most premium, amazing whiskey bourbon like you're ever gonna get, and that's the Hardin's Creek stuff.
Yeah, my only counter to that really is Claremont is better than Frankfurt, but we're talking about two really good products, and glad that both of them are on my shelf. Thanks to you. Beam. Just Beam. If you're not buying Beam limited releases, what are you doing?
And they're usually relatively easier to find.
Yeah,
So
and reasonably priced, I think, for the age, or not gouged anyway. They don't
yeah,
gouge you. This is for a guy that has three George T. Stags, Pappy 15, among old Carter single barrel 13 year. Well, maybe the 13 year, but I think this is the best bottle on my shelf. And that is Heaven Hill 18. And so I'm just going to say that like this is the holding place for Heaven Hill limited release bottles at retail. Um, so whether that's an Old Fit 16, that's a Heaven Hill, Parker's Heritage, um, man, don't sleep on those guys. Of course, you're probably not. If you can ever find one, just buy it.
yeah,
Maybe you ought to camp out a little bit, but it's hopefully you get a pour of this if you don't have if you can't get a bottle, but Heaven Hill 18, just phenomenal juice. It's like it transcends bourbon.
nice. Yeah, I think like all the limiteds from Heaven Hill, I can get hit or miss on the Parker's Heritage because they're finished and stuff. Like the Orange Carousel, they just couldn't get rid of.
Parker's Heritage Double Oak. That's just maybe
Yeah.
where I could live in there.
Yeah, yeah, and there's so many good stuff, and it's one of those everybody knows about. I feel like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think that's the thing you can say is if like you're on the Facebook pages or whatever, and you see that there's a drop at Heaven Hill and a drop at Jim Beam. No, everybody's going to Heaven Hill. Go to Jim Beam, and you're going to get something, and you're going to get something good. But if you happen to be at Heaven Hill in the morning, and they're like, "Hey, it's $280 for this crazy limited edition thing," you should probably just buy it because it's going to be some of the best stuff you've ever had. Yeah. So
What do we leave off there's no Michters here. There's no, maybe an
yeah,
honorable mention for me would have been the Hirsch.
yeah, the Hirsch would be good. I mean, you'll have to. I'm going to tease a video out. You'll have to stay tuned, but we're going to
Ooh.
do a very
I know where you're
expensive
going.
flight coming up here with our buddy Brian and see if he's really allergic to expensive bourbon or not. So there might be some.
We know he's
some
not going to watch this
bourbons.
video.
Yeah,
We could
he's
probably
not.
even tease the. Can we
Tease.
say? Can we
Te-
say the at least the front runners,
Yeah, go for it.
the buff turkeys?
Yeah, we lucked out and we went crazy and bought some buff turkeys. So we're gonna see if Brian thinks it's all it's cracked up to be. So tune into that. That will be coming out and it'll be a good time. What is your go-to expensive bottle? I don't care who you are, you've got one. It might not be over the $80 price range, but you got one that if you see it, you're just buying it because it's that good and everything like that. Let us know.
Your
And then
special
also,
occasion pour.
yeah, your special occasion pour. And then also let us know where we screwed up because I'm sure some of you are like, that is a terrible bottle and you should not have bought that. I mean, for me, it's always going to be Blue
You're
Run
entitled to your
14.
opinion.
But with that, cheers. We'll see you next time.
Stay neat.